Today we're talking about how to prepare for a baby. Now, we have had so many questions, everything from how to plan for a baby, what to do when you find out you're pregnant, taking baby home for the first time. And the program that I've been following online, the Flourish program, which is part of growgreat.co.za, is something that I've been watching closely, and I kept thinking to myself, how do I get them in studio? So it is really wonderful to have you here. Dr. Edzani is joining us, and she's answering all of our questions. Welcome to Baby Brunch.
Thank you so much, Helena, for having us. We're happy to be here too.
Planning for baby. Is there a right way? Is there this is the way to plan for baby? I mean, in some instances, I hear family planning, and other instances, we just stop contraception and try for a baby, Is there a prescribed way to plan for baby?
That's a very tricky question. It's like always asking, is there the right way to be a mom? And there is no particular prescribed way, but there are known scientifically proven ways or things that we need to do to actually prepare for having the baby. And it really speaks to the fact that we're preparing a woman to be able to carry a child in a womb for 9 months. And that obviously means that the body has to be in the right state. And actually in South Africa, very few women have the opportunity to focus on preconception care, which is preparing to have a baby. And that includes right from the beginning having access to contraceptives and different contraceptive forms. So that's probably the best place to start, to say, okay, am I ready financially to have a baby? Am I ready emotionally to have a baby? And am I also ready physically, which is very important to have a baby? And then once you sort of have an answer for those three, if you feel that you're ready financially, physically, and emotionally to have the baby, and do I have the right support structure to have this baby, then that's sort of how the planning should start. And in the meantime, while I'm waiting, when will I have this baby? And then the timing, well, a month from now, I want to be pregnant. A year from now, I want to be pregnant. And if it's a year from now, then it's after considering those things. I'm actually not physically ready, mentally ready, financially ready. I need to be on contraceptives. And there are many different forms of contraceptives. There's oral contraceptives that we all know, the hormonal contraceptives, the injectables. There's also the intrauterine devices that we know about, which are more reliable because they don't depend on our memories. As women, we tend to forget a lot, and such as the Mirena and the copper device. So those are like different options that we have as moms and women to sort of give us control of when we want to have a child. And there is, like, of course, condoms, which have a dual protective function, not only protecting you from pregnancy, but also protecting you from, many STIs and the important one being HIV. And that's what we must continue to use throughout our reproductive years, as long as we're not sure of what our partner's status is. But really, to prepare for pregnancy, you need to be able to answer those questions. Am I physically ready, psychologically ready, financially ready? And do I have the right support system to be able to have this child? Because your body, the readiness of your body has obviously lifelong consequences for how your child turns out. Do you know that actually the baby's brain has developed all the cells, like the billion cells that are needed for the brain, have developed by the time a child is born. So the baby is born with all the cells. The connections are made after, but the baby is born with all the cells. And those are made from the mother's nutritional status. So we need folic acid. If you've not been preparing for pregnancy, like many of us, I remember for myself, when I was preparing, I was on pregnancy supplements. And for many women who've not prepared, believe it or not, in the States, it's like 50% of pregnancies are unplanned. And in South Africa, it's even worse than that. And can you imagine that, you fall pregnant, drinking heavily, your body smoking, your body not actually really ready to carry this young child. And that's why it's so important that the best way to plan is to be on contraceptives until, That's really, really the best way to plan.
Guilty as charged. I only started exercising when I found out I was pregnant. Why do we do that? I mean, why can't we just walk 30 minutes a day?
It's human. It's human nature, and I think sometimes many of us are moved to action by realizing how big this job that we have of going to be parents is. And I think it's just with everything else. Unless there's like a carrot, a big carrot, we're not going to be inspired to just. But I think it's also changing mentality and saying, the more we know, the more I know. I think sometimes it's like not knowing the consequences of being not physically ready for pregnancy, and that's why we don't take it seriously. But once we know that, oh my goodness, my body has to have all the nutrients to build this baby, because they're gonna be born with their brain cells, like they're gonna be born with everything formed from what I have, and if I don't have enough, I've disadvantaged my life. We'll take it a little bit differently.
We would. How do we choose our hospital? I mean, we had a podcast previously on Baby Brunch where we talked to one of our favorite gynaes. She's just amazing. And we were talking about the fact that if you're not sure about your gynae, you can actually leave or change. You know, but how do you choose the right gynae or the right hospital?
Yeah. I think it's really according to, we all have different preferences. And I think, speaking again in this context of South Africa, for many moms who are in the public sector, there is no choosing. Where you find yourself pregnant, and the healthcare facility, which is the clinic that you're going to go and book that pregnancy and have your antenatal care, will determine where your baby is going to be born. So either the child is going to be born if your pregnancy is going well, there are no complications. In the public sector, you're most likely to give birth in the MOU facility, like the clinic in your area that has an MOU facility, depending on where you stay. And if you have complications, you will be then referred to whatever regional hospital or tertiary hospital if you've got serious complications that actually works within that area, which is part of the drainage area of where you stay. And then when it comes to private, many of us who've got medical aid or the financial means are privileged, because then we have the opportunity to shop around. And I think it's really understanding what kind of birth experience you want. Do you want a very fully natural birth experience, and you really set on having a natural birth? And there are many gynecologists and also many midwives who actually really specialize in natural births and ensuring that your birthing choice of a natural birth is respected as far as possible. And sometimes it's also about the closest hospital to where you are, because you don't want to be driving an hour when your water has broken to get to the hospital. So I think that should always be something that you think about. How far is this hospital from where I stay? Should there be an emergency? And how quickly will I be able to get there? So that's one big question that you would probably choose, based on convenience. And sometimes it's really word of mouth and finding out, who's the best guy in the area. And some people are willing to drive many kilometers, which is understandable because this is obviously a precious moment. And I think the best thing is also just to also look around on doctors' reviews, see what other patients who've gone to the doctor are saying about them, so that that you're choosing probably the best gynae in terms of how other mothers have experienced that gynecologist. Unfortunately, in South Africa, we don't have statistics which are put out there for you to know, does this gynecologist have a high mortality rate, or which would be important statistics to have to inform your decision when you're saying, okay, I'm going to Dr. Edzani. That she's got 99% success rate. She's actually a very good doctor, because they are negligent doctors as much as they are good doctors. But unfortunately, we as the public don't generally have that access to that information, which would be a good thing for us to help to make those kind of choices, especially mothers who go into private healthcare. But I think it's generally reviews are a good thing to go by when you because it's not just choosing the doctor. It's if I'm choosing this doctor, which hospitals does he work in? And are there good reviews about that hospital? Because the most important thing to consider is, should something go wrong and my child needs to go to a neonatal ICU, how do people speak about the neonatal ICU? So I'd say the research you should make is really also about the neonatal ICU of that hospital, because that's really like the most important part that will determine the success of what happens with a complication. And I think that's something that many moms don't know about and don't think about to actually, because you probably look out for the gynae, the reviews, but also find out which hospital and go check what are the moms saying about the neonatal ICU of that particular hospital. And I think also consider midwives, especially for they come in much cheaper than obstetricians, and if a pregnancy is uncomplicated, they are the best that you could. They're the best hand that you could be in, because midwives specialize in normal vaginal deliveries. That's what they do, and obstetricians in general are supposed to specialize in complicated deliveries, because that's what you call them in for when there's a complication. But I suppose in South Africa, that is skewed, because you either have a gynae that is in private and you go with them until the end. But also there are midwives who are available. I myself had my children delivered by a midwife. The first one was an obstetrician, and the second two were by a midwife. And that was like a life-changing experience. Like,
Beautiful.
Sister Oli is like the best, the best. And I think it's really about what experience do I want that should it be super medicalized, and then you're also thinking around, okay, will I be able to bring my doula in this experience? Unfortunately, in some public hospitals you can't, but I think things are changing now, and they're making provisions for that. Would I be able to have my husband there, my children there? And in my experience in the hospital where I birthed, I could have my husband there, my children there. It was a whole family affair. After the baby was born, we all slept in the same hospital with my children on the same bed, and it was really special. So it's really finding the experience that you want and choosing a hospital that's able to support that. And our needs and wants are very different. Some want like very controlled environments with very, which are medicalized because of the complications of their pregnancy, and that then determines, like, do I need to see a gynecologist? And yes, if you have a complicated pregnancy, or you've had a complicated pregnancy before, you'd want to do that, because you don't want anything to go wrong. You want it to be in a very controlled environment. And sometimes also for like precious babies, like it's your baby, you've been on IVF, you've been struggling to get this baby, you don't want to take a risk with that kind of child. You really want it to be in the most secure environment as possible, which has got all the medical care and help that you will need for that. And others choose to have their children at home, and there are midwives who are able to support you for that. And that's also a special experience, but that should only be done when there is no complications related to that pregnancy. So there are a wide variety of choices. It all depends on circumstances, but all of them should always consider making sure that at the end there's a healthy baby and a healthy mom, because that's all we're worried about, and that's all we need as an outcome of pregnancy.
I want to thank you for speaking openly, because, a lot of us, when we were pregnant and had our babies, it felt like we didn't have options. You either wanted only the doula or only the midwife. And now to learn that you can have every medical specialist and non-medical support possible is so wonderful. And even out of COVID, to know that your partner can just be there with you. Where in a time where no one was allowed in the hospital, you kind of did it on your own. So really refreshing to hear. When should our nursery be ready? I mean, with my second baby, I didn't have a nursery. She came early, and so she stayed in my room. but Pinterest and Facebooks and Instagram makes us kind of feel like it has to be the best.
I think, again, back to basics. Like, what does a newborn baby need? And really, a newborn baby needs its mother. And that's what a newborn baby needs. A newborn baby can comfortably sleep on its mother's chest. And that's like actually that's the best place that a newborn baby can sleep, because they're able to listen to their mother's heartbeat. Remember, when a baby is born, they're coming from this protected environment, nice and dark and warm, and they come into this world, especially in hospitals, in like bright lights, noise, ting, ting, ting everywhere. And what they really need is like a calm environment, not too much light, which is warm. So as long as where this baby is going to go to, it's warm, it's calm, it's not too hyperstimulating, it's not noisy, it's the right place. And again, as long as the baby is going to be close to their mom, because remember, they're always listening to the heartbeat. The heartbeat is like the most familiar sound that the baby is used to, like from when they're in the womb. So when they come out, it's so important for them to continue to hear that heartbeat, and really preparing. Like, the best for me, I'd say, is finding those core sleepers that just make it a little bit safer for you as a mom to not be so worried, like, oh, I'm gonna crush my baby when I'm sleeping. A core sleeper is the best, because you're able to look when the baby is crying, when they need to feed, you're able to respond quickly to them, to their needs. And I think that's why even in many African cultures, like the first 3 months or the fourth trimester, or has really been treated as a fourth trimester, and the mom will be in, like, in a protected environment. They say no, the mom mustn't be going up and down, and it's really to protect that mom's mental health and to protect their time with the baby, so that they're there together. So in that context, there's no need for a nursery, like where the mom is sleeping, as long as there's a safe space in that place for the baby to lie down. It's really what's important. And if you want to go fancy, as long as you have a bed in the nursery, as long as you have, because it's important for a baby to have stimulation when they look around. Any really baby mobile, whether you've made it yourself or you've bought it, is really good for the baby to look up. But the mother's face is the best thing that a baby could look at, because they're learning, right? They're born ready to learn how to be a human being, and they watch their mother's face, how they respond, how they smile, the tickles, so when they're a little bit removed from the mom, it's not ideal. So I'm like a big proponent of co-sleeping, and yeah, when the baby is a little bit older, like after 6 weeks, yes, the nursery. So if you're gonna put the baby in a nursery when they're born, when you bring them home, you need to be prepared, like before 36 months, I'll say, when you're not gonna be needing to be feeling the need to be going up, climbing things, and possibly tearing some ligament, which you don't want. So do it the earlier the better, and get your basics, like the bed. The baby doesn't need any really bedding, because that has a risk for suffocation. So the bed doesn't need to have like fancy bedding or anything, because when they sleep, it's just really for show. When they sleep, they just need a plain bed, properly wrapped up, which allows them to be tightly wrapped and still feel that in that tight mummy space, which really helps. But and dim lights, like where the baby can just calmly sleep. A room which is quiet, which is away from all the noise in the house, where they can quietly sleep. And I think the best place is when the baby is close to you, because many of us, when we had small babies, we were worried, is the baby breathing? Is the what? Because now you're gonna get into the expense of getting all these breathing monitors, which adds more stress to you, and then a baby monitor.
Do you have a camera in my house? Why do you know all these things?
Because I went through them with my first baby. I had all these things, and I think realizing that co-sleeping made a world of difference with my second and third baby, and I was like, why did I need all those things when my baby could have just been close to me? I'm able to watch them. I'm not watching monitors, being stressed, and I think the more gadgets we have, the more stressed we become as moms. The simpler, the better. And the mom needs their mother's skin, their mother's heart, their mother's warmth, and that's the best place where baby can can rest during the day, and at night they're there by yourself. You're able to pick them up, give them breast, put them back, and if you want to go fancy, yes, go for the nursery, like for the pictures, because ultimately that baby will spend more time with you than in that nursery.
We had a podcast recently on Can I Have My Placenta, Please? That was the topic, because we were talking about placenta encapsulation, about how moms can take their placenta home and you can encapsulate it. What's your opinion on it? I mean, do we ask for it? Do we let the hospital take it away and whisk it away in a bucket? What do you say at your clinic and through your advice as a doctor?
I'd say whatever is the right thing for you, the hospital should be able to accommodate that. So if you want to take your placenta with, the hospital should be able to accommodate that. If like myself, you didn't care less where the placenta has gone to, then yes, the hospital will take it and they will safely discard of it. So nothing is also to think about where is this placenta going and for what reason am I taking it away. But whatever is, maybe sometimes there are also cultural beliefs that speak to that besides the health needs. So yes, do what feels right.
How do we get our baby home? So there's an interesting story around this. So I remember, the baby seat, and we advocate for all babies to be safe. But not all of us can have a baby seat because some of us are traveling by taxi and public transport. I know of a mom who took her baby and wanted to put her in the push cart and walk home because she lived across the hospital. The hospital refused. They said, you need to have a baby seat. And she said, well, I didn't come here by car, I can just walk. So
that's an interesting one. And I think, again, thinking about how different backgrounds we have in this country. Yes, in a private hospital, that could be an expectation because they expect that you'll be driving home. That's best. Like a car seat is best when you're going to be driving your baby home in an Uber, whatever it is, or your own car. But practically, that's not possible for all moms. So the best I'd say is to just make sure that the baby is nicely and securely tied onto your chest, and their head is supported, and the mom is able to do that. So there's all these wrap arounds that are comfortable for when a baby is born. Because of course you cannot put a newborn baby on your back. Very important because their neck needs to be supported. But for extra security for those who are using public transport, to just find those nice tight wraps that keeps the baby against your chest, so that at least if there is like an accident, there's less risk of the baby flying out of your hands. So I'd say that's a good option because that's the best option in those kind of circumstances. The best is a car seat, but not everybody, like you said, has a car. Yeah.
So nice and tightly wrapped against your chest. Yeah.
Yes.
What should I know by the time I leave hospital? I mean, do I ask the nurses to assist me with some stuff like changing a nappy and how to breastfeed? Like, what knowledge should I leave with after I have had my baby and I'm leaving the hospital?
That's a very interesting topic, and it speaks really to what the work that Flourish does, because in the Flourish classes there is like a whole dedicated session around that, like preparing for birth, like what you need when you leave the hospital, because it's really those kind of things that we rarely think about and prepare for, and sometimes especially in public hospital, nobody has the time to be going with you. This is how you change the nappy. This is how you clean your baby's umbilical cord, and that is covered in in Flourish classes, and people can find more about that on the Flourish website. And
just give it to us again. Flourish.co.za.
www.flourish.co.za,
Sure.
where you can find out more information around the classes, because they really cover what you're gonna need for that. And basically it's what you've mentioned. You need to be able to know how to change a nappy, the importance of washing your hands all the time when you...
Can I tell you, before COVID and all of this, because after your baby you are tired and confused, maybe. It's the one thing I remember I had to keep reminding myself of. something as simple just to wash your hands,
Yeah.
after a nappy change, and because you're dealing with your breasts where baby is going to be
Yes.
feeding. And so I'm so glad you said that. I don't know why I'm so passionate about washing hands, but anyway,
It
thank
is-
you.
it is the washing hands is the biggest, the most cheapest intervention to make sure that babies grow and don't get diarrhea, which many children die from. And for a young newborn baby, that's something that you don't need. So I think it's important, like just remembering that washing your baby, your hands, and if you don't have
Pump soaps and
the
things, yeah.
pump soaps, and so you just have that handy and have it close by, and ensure that the umbilical cord is kept clean, and most importantly, by the time you leave the hospital, make sure that somebody has helped you and you understand how to correctly latch the baby.
Okay.
Because that becomes very important for how you can succeed in breastfeeding, and it doesn't need to be painful or frustrated, and many of us get that, and if it's possible to get that support. But like I said again, in Flourish classes, there's somebody who can help, and also other mothers going through the same thing who can also help. But it's important because many of us leave and they're like, how do they even say I must put the baby? And then and very important for moms who are using formula to make sure that everything is sterile and that they're using the correct measurements of the formula, because every milk formula, whatever, has the measurements, the instructions. Make sure that you use the right formula, because if you don't, you dilute that milk and it has severe consequences for that child. Whereas, of course, breast milk comes ready. You don't need to sterilize. So breast is best. But for moms who, for whatever reason, need to use the formula, and sometimes because in the hospital it just comes made, sometimes you don't, and you like hazy and didn't hear what they said. Just read the instructions. If you don't understand them properly, ask somebody so that you do not dilute that formula, because it's important.
I had a situation recently where a mom contacted me and she said, she's getting mixed advice from people in her community. The baby's crying a lot, and this one's saying the baby's hungry. This one is saying the baby's underweight. This one. I said to her, have you been to your clinic? She says no. I said, how old is the baby? The baby at the time was already 8 weeks. So explain to us, after leaving hospital, when the first clinic visit is, and also what to do when you know that baby is not latching. Because, again, and I'm not making social media bad. I say social media is good when it's teaching us something and when it's educating us. But the minute it makes us feel insecure and confused, it can't be a good place. So just give us advice. Not all of us have got the means to go to a lactation specialist or that kind of, give us advice and direction of where to go. I sent her to a clinic and it worked, because there she found a nurse. They measured the baby. There was nothing wrong with the kid. He was just a little bit hungry, and all this advice that she got from all the aunties, was they should all just keep quiet.
Yes, no, definitely. And I think the first place to go to, if you're not sure about anything, is the clinic. And hopefully that you get the help that you need. And once again, I cannot speak about programs like Flourish enough, because you would have gotten that information to prepare you for pregnancy, and also after the pregnancy, how to latch correctly. And there will be somebody to help you, because the Flourish hosts have also been taught, how to help the mums latch properly, and also understanding. So they go through concept like understanding the size of the stomach of your baby, which is like an olive when the baby is born.
Man.
So the baby does not need a full bottle of milk. She was stressing that baby out and overfeeding the baby. The baby, when the baby is born and they knew the stomach is very tiny and it grows.
Shame,
So
man.
in Flourish classes, they actually take moms, because this is like information that many moms don't know. Like, this is how the baby, how big the baby's stomach is at this age, at this weeks, so that you also have an idea. Like, no, I fed the baby, he's calm, and probably maybe it's the temperature. Like sometimes babies just cry and all they need is just that comfort, and the closer and tighter they are to their mommy's chest, most of the time that really resolves the problems. And sometimes it's also a mom's mental stress, and the baby feels that, and they can become quite hysterical. So it's really making sure that the mom is supported and mentally well, and that the baby does not need a full bottle of milk. The baby's stomach is very small. So sometimes like, it's just a drop. On the first day, it'll probably be that drop of, that is all that the baby needs, because it's like the got the dose of like high fats and everything that the baby needs for that first day. So it's really important. Like it's great. It gradually increases. Clinics are important. Moms, go to your clinics. If you're not sure, ask your pediatricians. If you're not sure, your gynecologist. If you're not sure,
and the advice from the aunties.
And and only listen to only go to social media or to aunties when you know that they have the right clinical knowledge. If they are not a doctor, a midwife, yes, listen to their advice, and always make sure that when you do get to go to the clinic, you confirm
Verify it,
this is the correct thing. And at 7 days, you're supposed to go back for your baby to get a check to make sure that everything is well, their umbilical cord is dropped, and that the baby is gaining the right amount of weight, because that's important.
How do we know that there's postpartum blues?
Yeah, no, it's a very important question. And I think it's sometimes many moms don't know that they're going through it. And especially for us as working women who used to be in control. You used to coming at work every morning, preparing yourself, you in charge, things are going well, and you can control the environment. And there is a baby who's born, who is crying uncontrollably, and you feel like you're failing as a mom. Like, and it really stems from this. Like, you just start feeling like, I'm not good enough. Other moms out there are probably better than me. My child is not happy or is crying too much because maybe there's something wrong with me. And most of the time it stems from that. And it's really just having those, when you start having lots of negative thoughts. I mean, yes, we all as new moms are never prepared. We're prepared for the dream baby, like the perfect baby who sleeps.
The one on TV.
The one on TV. And there is no such a baby. And I think being in a community with other women who are going through the same thing, you quickly realize that, oh, okay, my situation is not abnormal. Actually, we're all sort of struggling in our first few days. And they always say that the first 6 weeks, like, you must be mentally prepared for, sleepless nights, because you're also now adjusting with the new baby to, she or he is adjusting to the new environment. So it is stressful on the mom. And when you don't have the right support, can become very bad. And sometimes with even all the support, you have all the money, you've bought everything, your nursery is prepared, but you just like, I'm not feeling that love that everybody said, when I look at my baby, my life is going to change. And it happens to many moms. And it's important to acknowledge that it is a medical condition with treatment. And we should treat it as such, because I think we shun mental health because you feel alone and you feel like, why am I not loving this baby? Many moms keep it a secret because they feel like, if I say this to my partner, then I'm going to be viewed as a bad mom. Like, why am I not just inspired to breastfeed, to wake up?
Who do we tell?
So the first person to tell is your partner, whoever is supporting you around. And I think very, very important, go to a health facility, because it is a mental condition that can quickly escalate into something serious, like, harming the baby, or actually it's a form of depression. It's postnatal depression. I mean, there's the baby blues, which we all feel, where you just not, which is not yet in the level of depression, where you become dysfunctional. So when you become dysfunctional, when you're not able to feed your baby when they're crying, you just look at them, you're not responsive, you're uninspired, you feel teary all the time. This is the time to get in the taxi, get in your car, make an appointment with your midwife, your obstetrician, your GP, your psychologist, and just make sure that you in the right place for the right support that you need for your mental health. And when you're starting to just have baby blues, important to speak to other women who are going through the same thing. Like, don't shut down support. And I think the most important reassuring thing is, many moms go through baby blues. We are not all excited, like, oh my gosh, because everybody's like expecting you to be happy, looking at the baby, he's so beautiful, and you also like, but why don't I feel like I'm not so excited? And most of the time, luckily, it goes away, it gets better. And breastfeeding actually really helps to
Take
take that away, because it builds the bond. It releases oxytocin, which is a happy feeling hormone in the body when you breastfeed the baby. So that's why breastfeeding is like, it's not just good for the baby, it's also very good for the mom's mental health.
How long do we breastfeed for?
Well,
Forever.
I'd say forever. But best to breastfeed in the first 2 years of your child's life.
Beautiful.
So that's the and if you can't take it that far, the longer you can breastfeed, the better.
Yeah.
And absolutely exclusively breastfeeding only, not giving any water, anything else, any medicines, except that they are prescribed by a doctor, in the first 6 months of your child's life. That makes a world of difference to that baby. It's like giving your baby all the antibiotics that they'll ever need. And that's why babies who are exclusively breastfed, especially for the first 6 months of their life, hardly get any infections and like sick in the first 2 years of their life, because you're really giving them your antibodies, the best that they can have.
All of a sudden, I had to start working when my youngest was 2 months old. And I would come home and then feed her. And the rest of the time she was on a bottle.
Yeah.
And at the time I had someone helping me with the baby because I was traveling away. We were living in Cape Town and I would have to go work in Joburg. And every time I would come home to feed my baby, as soon as she was on the boob, the then nanny, who was more like an auntie in the community, she would say, "Oh no, daar kom niks uit. There's nothing coming out of that boob," And I remember how ashamed I felt, thinking, I've just left my kid alone. And according to her, my milk is drying up, so it must be, Eventually she left by herself. I never asked her to go, But I'm thinking of moms that are in the same situation.
Yeah.
There's so many opinions out there, There's so many people that's trying to make it seem like we are not handling it.
Yeah, no. Yes, they are. And also, it's also this, like I just said now, you must exclusively breastfeed for 6 months. And I didn't qualify that, because the reality is, for you to be able to exclusively breastfeed for 6 months, you need to be in a supportive environment. So first of all, work policies that allows for that. And I think we slowly getting there in South Africa.
We are.
Really, many mom, yes, you're supposed to have 4 months maternity leave, but many of employers don't pay for that maternity leave. And honestly, if you're not gonna get paid, you will go back to work sooner. And sometimes maybe that's the time that you're getting your dream job, and then you go to work, and having policies that allows for moms maybe to also bring their babies to work, or to take breaks to be able to express, because that obviously keeps the milk supply going, and also just that advice to say, okay, no, if you separate it from the baby, keep expressing, store the milk. There's there also all these cooler bags now that you can put it in, and fridge and freeze it, and be able to then when you go back use it. And I think it's really important to say, moms, as long as you're trying and you continue to try, and this thing of the breasts are dry, the more a baby sucks, because it's on demand. the breast produce that milk on demand, and that's important to say. No, there isn't too little milk. You keep hydrating yourself, drinking as much as you can. There are many mixtures that you can try, but the most important is keep well nourished, hydrated, and the baby sucking, because that will obviously stimulate milk production. But we need supportive work policies. We need our government to come on board and be able to support moms to be able to do that, because yes, we say it, but if I don't have paid maternity leave, I'm definitely going to go to work sooner than I need to. And maybe I'm a security guard, and there's no place I'm going to be expressing milk. So it's really important for us to advocate for protected maternity leave for mothers to be able to do that. And in the meantime, ensure that if the moms are using formula milk, they're using it correctly.
So far, we've prepared for baby. We've realized that it's cheaper than what it looks out there, It doesn't have to be the bling pram with the Instagram room and, if we can get to a point where we can breastfeed, it can even be even cheaper than formula, and our baby is protected and safe. Is there anything that a diet we should follow while we are breastfeeding? This is a topic that we covered about 4 years ago on Parents and Baby Brunch, but it could be just wonderful to hear your opinion as well. What's the best food to have while I'm breastfeeding?
So
please say hamburgers.
Hamburgers are not on the list, but they can be eaten on. So and you can't continue to say you're having pregnancy cravings when the baby is born. So no. So I think the most important, just as a start, like to be well hydrated.
Okay.
So water should be your go-to drink, and remembering that we are made of water, and milk is made of water. So making sure that we have eating our water, and again highly nutritious foods. So foods which are rich in natural oils. Making sure that we're having milk, because it carries all the calcium. So like your dairy foods, milk, cheese, and important to avoid the smelly cheeses. So no smelly fermented cheeses, just like your normal cheddar cheese. You can have that, because I think there's always like talks around what cheese I can eat, and also the different types and also during pregnancy is also important to avoid those and cooked fish. So stay away from the sushi, but still have that salmon cooked, because it's very rich in omega-3 oils, and for those who can't afford salmon, tin fish, pilchards,
amazing.
Still the very same amount of omega-3s that you can get in the salmon. So your fatty fishes are really good. Again, meat, protein, very important during this time. And if you can't afford meat, the cheaper alternatives, which are highly packed in protein and especially also fiber. Your beans, like your sugar beans, those are very good also, like during that time, because they obviously have a lot of the protein. Soya, you can also have that because it's got protein. If you can't, afford meat products for the protein. And really important, your fruits and vegetables, because they have all the different minerals that the baby is going to need. So, and also very helpful for you, especially because they're high fiber. And we know that during the time, many of us struggle with constipation. So good for also the mom's digestive system. And make sure that you have probiotics to ensure that your gut is healthy and strong. And if you can't afford probiotics, again, Amasi, it's rich in probiotics, so that's what you can drink that and have that, which also helps to build your gut flora, which strengthens again the baby's immune system. So really, all the food groups, drinking lots of water, ensuring that you're having enough protein, because that's what the baby's using to build the baby's the baby's brain. Ensuring that you don't stop your pregnancy supplements. And for those who can afford, because that's obviously a high demand time, and the baby continues to take from the mom even as you breastfeeding. So really important to continue having your pregnancy supplements for as long as you breastfeeding, and if you can't, yes, there are other alternative foods that you can eat, and our bread and our maize meal is fortified with folic acid, so you can still get that. You can still get that if you're not able to afford the fancy supplements. But yeah, so just make sure that you eat highly nutritious food. Stay away from hamburgers and empty calories, amagwinya, and because I've seen a mom was like, no, I can only eat magwinya when I'm. So stay away from the fried foods, and because it's important. The baby will probably get the best of the nutrients in your body, but you will be left depleted.
With none.
And that's why it's important to have that 2-year gap between pregnancies, because it allows your body to replenish all the nutrients, especially for moms who are not taking all these many supplements. to be ready for the next pregnancy.
What do you enjoy the most about being a mom?
I enjoy right now when I drive home, walking into their house and getting all those children running up to me. Mommy, you're back. What did you bring me? And I'm like, I cannot bring something every day when I go to work. I think my kids, especially the small one, the last two were like COVID children. So I was working from home, and every time I'd go out, I'd bring something for them. So now when I'm just going to work on a day-to-day basis, they think I'm going to, and I'm like, no, I don't bring anything. I bring myself. What did you bring me? But it's like really just that fulfilling purpose of realizing that I have this life in front of me that I'm responsible for and whom I can shape to change the world. I think that really, that really gives me so much joy. And I think sometimes it's stressful because it's like, oh my God, like, am I doing the right thing? I remember when my babies were small, I would be counting down the 1,000 days. Like, I must make sure that I do the most in this 1,000 days because... And I wish that every mom actually does that, because just counting down and realizing that, wow, every day counts. But there's such fulfillment and joy that comes from seeing them grow and develop into like very unique individuals whom I truly believe will make a difference in whatever place that they were meant to make in this world. And that is my responsibility. It makes me feel so proud and like wow, you trusted me with this, God. Like, such a special thing.
Well, you're doing a lot of special work and we really appreciate your time. Stay on this podcast to hear more about Grow Great, growgreat.co.za. You'll also learn about the Flourish program. If you're a mom that is listening to this podcast and you need assistance in an antenatal program, or you want to know more about Flourish, I've been following these social media online and I think they're really great in what they're doing and how they recommend classes and support and celebrate your journey and to empower you. So follow them online. It's growgreat.co.za. You can also type in Flourish, flourish.co.za to find out more. Also stay on to hear how Dr. Edzani empowers and helps so many people through this program, and you can listen to it right now. Welcome to another Baby Brunch podcast. I'm very excited because we know that you are listening and watching from all over South Africa, and a big shout out to all of our international guests as well. Big shout out to the rest of Africa as well as to the United States and to the UK. My name's Ilana and I am very lucky to have Dr. Edzani in our studio. I've been watching how the Flourish program develops online. And as someone that works in the parenting space and that advocates for people to have a space where they can explore and learn, I'm extremely proud of the work that you do. As the executive director of Grow Great, tell me a little bit about the program that you run and also how you service other parents.
Thank you so much, Elana, for having us. We're very happy to be here. Grow Great is a national campaign that really focuses on ensuring that South Africa has a future where no child is stunted, where no child is denied the opportunity to reach their future potential because of stunting. And stunting is a problem which occurs when a child doesn't get enough food and enough stimulation when they are very young, from the time when their mom is pregnant until the child is 2 years old, in the first 1,000 days of life. And this then has an impact on how their brain develops and also how they develop physically. So a stunted child is a child who is shorter than what other children of their same age is, and extremely short for their age, not just short. And the shortness is generally an indicator that their brain is also not growing well. So their brain is also poorly developed for a child of their age. And this puts them on a back foot for the rest of their life. Children who are stunted at the age of 2 years generally go on to not finish school, to not be able to get gainful employment, and to have the risk of many chronic diseases, diabetes, hypertension, when compared to a child who was well nourished in their first few years of their life. So that's really what our program focuses on. And we mobilize the whole of South Africa to ensure that no child is left behind, that every single child reaches their full potential. Every child's brain and body grows great. And that's really what our work is focused on. And we do this, through 4 main strategies, and one of them being our communication strategy, which focuses on changing public norms and behavior around growth and early childhood development. And also one of the arms of the program is advocacy, where we really advocate for government, business, civil society to invest in zero stunting strategies. And the other one being empowering health practitioners to be champions for children through our Grow Great Champions program, which mainly focuses on community healthcare workers. And of course, the program that you follow closely, Flourish, which really focuses on ensuring that mothers are supported during their pregnancy and in the early months of their child's life. And really, I'll say that Flourish is my proudest project, because it's one thing that in society we don't focus on. We train for everything else in life. I've trained to be a doctor. I've trained for many things. And when I had children, realized that the most important job of my life, which is being a mother, was the one that I was poorly trained for. And Flourish really covers that gap for the most vulnerable women in our country, to be able to also have that environment where they can get reliable, credible information, and also a supportive structure of other women who are also pregnant, going through the same issues and sort of in the same circumstances, and being able to really hold each other through that journey and support each other, as we know that mental health is most threatened for women when we are pregnant and when we have young children, because that's the most vulnerable time of our lives, but yet the most important for the future of our children. So
well, as you know, Baby Brunch supports parents, and it is so wonderful to have spoken to you. growgreat.co.za to find out more about what Dr. and her entire team, what they do for a living and how they're helping so many people, as well as to find out more about the Flourish program.